Hello and welcome to Broken Entertainment. So it looks like the end of physical media might be here. According to this article, and we're seeing it elsewhere as well, this is on MovieWeb, is Warner Brothers really phasing out DVDs and Blu-rays next year? Animation historian Jerry Beck claims that Warner Brothers is gearing up to transition away from the physical media business. Those who enjoy physical media may be suffering quite the blow next year, according to animation historian Jerry Beck. Warner Brothers will begin to phase out DVD and Blu-ray releases beginning in 2022. This means that future movies and TV shows will likely not be released physically, with focus shifting to streaming, specifically HBO Max. The news began circulating on Twitter recently. While Jerry Beck hasn't tweeted from his personal account in some time, some screenshots from what appear to be a Facebook group recently made the rounds. In the screen caps, Beck says that Warner Brothers has no plans to commemorate some landmark anniversaries in the world of animation next year, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. According to Beck, as of now, there are no plans to commemorate Daffy or Tweety's anniversary next year or ever. The company is slowly transitioning away from physical media. There are no plans for any classic cartoons on DVD or Blu-ray that I know of, except for one project we're in the middle of, which may come out later this year or may not. Anything is possible, we'll just have to wait and see. Jerry Beck is not directly associated with Warner Brothers, but is considered to be a trusted insider in this area. He is a legitimate historian and has quite a bit of credibility, so while this isn't coming directly from the horse's mouth, it is certainly worth paying attention to. Speaking further, he elaborated, saying the following. It includes both Warner Archive and regular Warner Home Video. You'll still see some new releases from both during the rest of 2021. The Snyder Cut, I believe, is also coming out on Blu-ray this year, just as an example. But those were planned out last year. The next year, 2022, is when this year's changes will be felt. Yes, the Tex Avery sets sold well enough for the low overhead archive collection division, but in the big picture, it's peanuts, and the focus over there is now on streaming, HBO Max. So before we go on, we've been talking about this before, that eventually these companies are going to want to move away from Blu-rays and DVDs, and not just because of the physical cost, not just because of market issues, but because they get more control. We've seen primarily with Disney so far, where they'll pull out movies and put them on Disney Plus, and then they change them. They change scenes. We know in Star Wars they've completely changed one of the scenes. We know in other movies and shows they've changed scenes. They've done edits, or they have slapped warning labels on things. And it allows them to do things like put something in the vault, bring it out later, make any political changes they want, and put it on Disney Plus. And as you move away from physical media, nobody's going to have any kind of record of this existing. You know, you're not going to be like, well, hey, I have that on DVD. That's not how that played out. You know, and it gives them total control. You no longer own anything. Even if you buy it, usually you can't download it. So you end up with just, basically you've purchased the rights to view something, which means they have total control. They can take it away. They can change it. They can do whatever they want. If the service goes defunct, you're out of luck. You know, you need to physically own your stuff. If you own physical copies of media, one, you can watch it whenever you want. Two, you only have to pay for it one time. You don't have to pay for continued access to a streaming service, because make no mistake, just because you bought a video on a streaming service doesn't mean you're going to be able to go back and watch it if you stop watching the streaming service. Or if they use a model more like some of the other streaming services where you don't pay, yeah, you can watch it whenever you want, except they might take it off after 6 months. I mean, you don't get to see it again. You know, Netflix routinely shifts stuff out. So does HBO Max. And what do you do once that has moved off? Recently, On Netflix, they removed a huge chunk of the Power Rangers catalog. Well, if you don't go out and buy the physical media, or if you don't already own the physical media for that, how do you watch it? You can try to pirate it online, I suppose, but that's still not owning it. It's also, not a great thing to do. So what you end up with is the media companies producing this stuff have total control to your access and total control to what you actually see. And this is not what they're setting out to do, I don't think. Maybe Disney is. Disney kind of big brothery like that. But they are going to move away from this stuff. We've been talking about it before, and here we are. The first company starting to do it. And it's not surprising to me that it's Warner Media, because they're the first ones that said, screw it, we're putting our movies on streaming so people can watch them. When the pandemic happened. It is worth noting that Jerry Beck specializes in animation, and he could be speaking more specifically about that arena. Even if they are, it's just the beginning. In any case, the shift away from physical media with attention turned towards streaming makes sense. As much as many movie buffs still love Blu-rays, the market has been shrinking for years. It's a niche market, relatively speaking. I wouldn't call it a niche market. Everywhere you go has got Blu-rays on sale, but it's not what it used to be. Streaming, meanwhile, is viewed as the future of entertainment and represents possible billions in reliable monthly revenue. This is also important as companies like Apple and Amazon are currently facing lawsuits in regard to digital movie and TV purchases. These purchases aren't so much owned. Here's what I was talking about. They're not owned. They are rented for as long as the company decides to carry the titles on their platform. There you go. Own physical copies. Buy them on eBay. Buy them on Amazon. But if you want to be able to watch it whenever you want, if you want to have control over what you see, we got to get physical media. A lot of people, particularly of the millennial generation and the generation coming up, have had a long time working with streaming services, and they have this sort of inherent trust for it, right? Oh, well, I buy all my games on Steam, and I can play them whenever I want. I can download them, yes. Some services, Steam and Audible, for example, do bypass that need to own physical media, because on Audible, you can buy a book and then download it onto any of your devices and just have it. And speaking as someone who has had Audible and then canceled it for a while and then got it again, after you cancel it, you can still go to your cloud server access and download it on anything. So they don't take away your right to do it. Unlike if you stop paying for HBO Max, good luck watching Warner Media. The tendency of these companies to shift stuff out hasn't hit millennials and Zoomers much yet, but it's going to. Because right now, a lot of the stuff they grew up on is still viewable. But what happens when that shifts off? A lot of the older portion of the millennial generation grew up on Power Rangers, just as an example. And if they're big Power Rangers fans, all of a sudden they just saw a huge chunk of that catalog disappear. And you start to realize when that happens, when the stuff that you care about gets shifted off, you're like, I can't watch that anymore. That Mind Blu-rays and more recently 4K Ultra HD releases carry a lot of value for those who want to ensure they can watch movies indefinitely. Granted, this would at worst just be Warner Brothers. No, that's not true. This is going to be all of them. It's going to start with Warner Brothers, just like movie releases on streaming for 2020. It's going to start with Warner Brothers, and it's going to spread out. It'll take time. It's not going to happen tomorrow, but it will happen. Be easy to see Disney and other studios follow suit in order to double down on streaming. Not just to double down on streaming, but because they no longer view physical media as necessary. Why do you need to own it when they can own it and make you pay for access to it? You can check out the screenshots as shared by a Twitter account for yourself. And that's where that article ends. It's coming. We've talked about it before. I've brought it up before. I've said you need to own physical media. You need to own physical media. I said before is because they can take it away. They can change it. And that's all still true. And now you're seeing for the first time a company take steps. And people could say all they want. Oh, this might just be animation. This might just be a limited window. But you start it small. This kind of change you don't do immediately. You start it small. You say, we're going to start by taking the smallest impacted area, animation, and we're going to shut down the physical media and see what happens. And if they lose a bunch of money on it, or it turns out there's a lot more demand than they expected, they can bring it back. But that probably won't happen. People are like, well, I can just watch it on HBO Max. Well, until they take it off. If you care about these movies and TV shows that you love, it's just time to start owning them. You know, and I would say go out and get them as soon as you can. You know, that's what I've been doing. I've been working on expanding my Power Rangers collection. I already own the vast majority of Godzilla movies, but I need to get the legendary stuff. You know, I got Alita Battle Angel. I have a nice collection of DVDs and Blu-rays already, but it's going to happen. And not far behind that, if you're a gamer, physical video games. Just saying. We've already seen that move significantly as the physical video game section everywhere you go gets smaller. But look at what Microsoft is doing, where you pay for an account and you have access to like 180 plus games and you can play them whenever you want on whatever device you want. People are just going to move away from buying the physical game, and then eventually they're just going to get rid of the physical game. And the same is going to happen. You know, look at the success of Steam. And it's not that it's not convenient. I'm just saying that's what they're going to do. And if you love this stuff, if you care about it, you know, it's like when a console gets phased out, but you really liked that console and its games, so you keep them. Well, good luck with digital. So that's my advice for the day. Buy this stuff. Buy the stuff that you really care about and you want to be able to watch whenever, and you don't want people to be able to take away, and you don't want them to be able to change. Because everything is moving to digital. It's happening in bits and pieces and fits and starts, but that will snowball. So if you let me know what you think about this. And if you like the video, hit the like button. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. Hit the bell for notifications, and I will see you next time.